I remember having my Nissan Maxima. And this car, it was a beauty until I crashed it. Had a little accident while I was working. And this thing had a genuine hole in the front of it.
Dude, what would happen to the bonnet?
Dude, she was speaking to you while you're driving. This poor girl, she's just tapping up in
So
there.
if it was a really windy day,
Huh?
if it was a really windy day,
Yeah,
what would
she's
happen?
a personal drum set. She's like, that's what.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to episode 27 of Hanging with Hardcore. And today we are going to double down on how to budget from last week's podcast.
Yeah, this is an important one. You know, when it comes to investing in all this stuff, everybody's looking for like some magic formula of like how to get rich. But really, it's like kind of similar to like boxing. You know, when they say like you just need to master your jab, you just need to master the basics. And of course, everybody knows how to budget, right? But it's just one of those things that no one is actually practicing, or very few people are practicing on a frequent basis. And it's like even till this day, we're starting to struggle, you know, like we're still struggling a bit, you know, every now and then, because in this day and age, it's so tempting. Get Uber Eats, you know, after going for a long bike, you're that hungry, you burn 1,000 calories in an hour, going real large.
Yeah.
And then, mate, you want to go even larger with a bit of Kentucky and all of that. And then in the moment, you don't really think about it. But then when you look and you check over the last month your expenses, there's that many Kentucky drumsticks that just keep popping up again and again and again.
Get to a point you're just going for a ride so you can eat Kentucky.
Every time.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like, it's so important to actually go through and do these steps. So yeah, we're going to double down on it today and have a look through and discuss budgeting.
I tell you, I was thinking about, as you were saying that, like why? What's a reason that people wouldn't budget? Because it is, like, as you said, it's such an easy thing to do, but like, why do people not budget? I was thinking in my own head from when we were first beginning the journey, and I remembered, like, I literally just didn't want to know the answer.
Yeah.
I was terrified. I'm like, dude, I know it's bad, but I'm too scared to, like, fix it. Or too scared to be aware, like, really aware of it, because then I have to fix it. And I'm like, fuck, but I like what I'm doing, you know? I like this. I like going out, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, actually going to have to do a budget, writing it down, it makes me, like, kind of conscious of the actual problem and how bad the problem is. So, I don't know. For me, it was, like, just being scared.
Oh, yeah.
Like, actually going in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good one.
That's it, boys. All right, let's jump into step number 1. So we recommend you use like Google Sheets. We find like Google Sheets is better than Excel. That's our preference, but test out Google Sheets if you haven't already. So open up a new sheet and then just write down your monthly income after tax. So write that down. That's like your money coming in. If you have any other investments and stuff like that, you might want to put it down in that column as well, like how much money you're generating from that type of investment, if you have some. But really focus on your monthly income and just write that number there. Then the next step is when we start to figure out your expenses column. So
Just jump in. With the monthly income, if you have a salary, then it's going to be one number. If it's not a salary and you're like working shift work, like grab the average.
yeah,
Like, don't be like, oh, don't put down the number, the highest you've ever been paid before.
yeah,
Because that's absurd. Put down what, you know, is an average over, say, a couple of months of what you've been usually getting paid.
Yep.
The average amount of hours. Because then I think you'll have like a true and accurate number to work off.
yeah. And yeah, then in the next column, just write down all of your expenses for the month. Do the exact same thing. So yeah, work out the averages of everything. So there's literally anything that's coming out of your bank account, you got to write it down. So some of the big ones are obviously food, rent, your car, your vehicle. And like when you think about your car, like really break it down because it's actually quite complicated. Now, what do we have? We've got petrol,
Maintenance,
insurance,
rego. That's just a bunch of things.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all-
like
it's
things
too
just
much,
pop
yeah.
up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You have to like fix that.
Yep.
Speeding fines,
That's a good one. Fines, yeah.
parking fines.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the thing of us being a bit older is, you know, we've already had like a car or, you know, in my case a scooter for so long that we can see like how many fines on average we get. For me, it's like 2 fines. I barely use my thing. It's still 2 fines a year I'm getting. So
What are your fines? Is it like parking fines or?
It's always speeding fines.
God damn.
It's
Speed
always
resume.
no, it's always no, it's all yeah, it's either speeding or it's always speeding.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
I always get caught a little bit.
I've been pretty lucky the last couple of years that I've had a card. I've had like 2 speeding fines over the course of 4 years.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I've been quite lucky.
Good.
in
Always
that
know when I
regards.
was working at Toll, I nearly lost my license. I was on Golden Point. I was shitting bricks. So essentially, like when you're on your P's, there's a certain amount of points, and then you have like 12 months where if you lose this Golden Point, you're done. Like you lose your license for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I was getting other boys to take a lot of points for me and stuff like that. And it was crazy. I was shitting bricks. It was terrifying.
You gotta be careful of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not like it was all in such a small period. I'm not sure if you guys feel this, but sometimes you get a speeding fine. Oh, I don't. Then you get like a second one or a third one in such a small period of time, so you don't even get to learn your lesson from the first one coming in, because then you've just made the mistake 3 times before the first one's even come in.
Yeah.
So then it's like
Yeah.
she just keeps dominoing on top of you.
What actually happens when you're on your golden point? Do you get the next year? Does it top up again or?
I can't remember the actual time period, so I'd be really kind of lying, but I've got a thing of like 12 months. If you get at that like a singular fine or a demerit point when you're on your golden point, you lose your license for
What is it, like
a
3
certain
months
period.
to
I thought it was like
6
3 months to
Yeah.
6 months, something like that. But yeah, it's really just not worth doing
Yeah.
it all.
Like
Obviously.
the way I saw fines and speeding on the road, it's usually like people that are. For me, it was if I had someone tailgating me, I'd want to speed up
Oh, yeah.
instead of just change the lane. Like something that I could control was how fast I went on the road. And for me, it came down to like I want to be safe, and I don't want to get fines because it's literally like $180 fine, like straight away. And yeah, they say you can appeal it, but like chances of you getting away is very small. I'm like, I don't want to take that chance. I'm just gonna go speed limit. If people want to take over, they can take over.
I have the strictest rule. If something comes in and it's like a question in my head, I like pay for it immediately because I know I've probably done something wrong.
Yeah.
The probability of me doing something wrong is much higher than not. And even like when I get pulled over, like there's not me questioning the cop like, oh, did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. It's like,
Just accept it.
I've done something wrong. Take it as it is and like use it as a chance to learn from it and be like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
I find people always like, you did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Like you're 10 kilometers over. Everyone else is doing 10 kilometers. Gives a shit. You did the wrong thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't
Cop
make
it.
it right if everyone else is doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. Cop it on the chin, son. Move on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, talking about tailgating as well, that happens to me a lot because, on a bike, people don't respect you if you're on a bike, and they tailgate you even harder than if you're in a car.
Damn.
And then what people don't realize is motorbike, when you're braking, it's way harder to brake on a bike than a car, because a car's on 4 wheels, bike's on 2, and especially if it's in a corner, a bike doesn't have the ability to brake on corners because the bike usually will just slip out. Right, and then the thing you have to be careful of is if you're like a driver, they should actually teach this. When you get your license and stuff, you should actually leave such a big gap if there's a motorbike doing a corner, because often there's gravel, and your tires slip out. So a lot of cyclists, they slip out and they hit the deck, and then if you're right behind them, you run over them.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people, when they're getting used to it, they don't have that instinct to counteract that thing in the moment. So they all hit the deck, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Also about the speeding stuff, like we're never advocates for speeding. It's just like every now and then you accidentally do something wrong. Speeding is like the most stupid thing in the world.
It's so dumb. And it'll be like we're in our own heads so many times. Like we're trying to get to that next place to do this thing. Or like I've been caught so many stupid times, like not paying enough attention to say the sign has just changed from 60 to 50.
Yeah.
And it's like you're just doing 10 over. Like you're not putting anyone in danger.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh, schnitzel.
Yeah.
Wasn't paying enough attention because I was thinking about some shit, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the speeding fines I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's similar.
And yeah, when we're talking about like the car maintenance and stuff like that, it's going to be like a yearly cost almost. So divided by 12 if it is a yearly cost. So then you work out roughly your, you know, your monthly cost, and maybe even boost it up 10 or 20%, you know, just to have that little buffer there. Because you hear it all the time, like, oh, my car broke down, you know. Oh, I need to, you know, take it to the mechanic. It's going to cost me $1,000. Well, that's what cars do. You know, cars are supposed to break down. Like, nothing just runs perfectly forever magically.
Yeah.
So,
It's like you have your logbook, right? So you can see like approximately in the future when your car would need the service. And it's like normal service is like every 10,000 kilometers, you have to get it serviced. A lot of people do miss that. I like to stick to the book. So I already know ahead of time how much money I need to, you know, have allocated for maintenance.
yeah.
But it's like when people complain, oh, you know, my car broke down. Mate, good luck doing 10,000 kilometers on your feet. Like your car took you 10,000 kilometers. So like, yeah, it is going to break down. So you should take care of it. So just plan ahead.
Yeah, and it's good to have that little buffer as well, because there will be like some part you need as well. Like something's, you know, some individual part you will need to replace it.
I remember when you were first explaining like how deep you go into like budgeting and all the little things like this. Like I don't know anyone previous to learning it from you that actually budgets for car maintenance.
Yeah,
Like plans it
tires.
out ahead. Yeah,
Yeah.
like all that kind of stuff. And like people are out here going, I can guarantee people listening going, really? You actually need
adds
to
up.
account for that shit?
Yeah, that's
But
up.
it's all those little costs that like you try and plan out as much as possible so
Yeah.
then the variables are lesser.
Yeah.
So the things that scare you, well, like they're just not as many of them coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on the bike, like the back wheel, I had to replace it every single year.
Damn.
Like the thread runs out really quick and you can notice it. And then in the wet, it's really dangerous. It will keep sliding out.
Yeah.
You know, even if you accelerate on the spot, sometimes it spins.
Some
So,
Tokyo
like,
drift shit.
yeah, it's really,
Dude,
it's really scary, man.
getting a bike sounds terrifying.
Oh, she is.
You look cool as shit, but damn.
Even when you're on the freeway, I think the reason why people tailgate so much and they don't give enough space is everyone's going approximately the same speed. So if you're going the same speed, you can't tell you're going 100 kilometers an hour. Everyone's going approximately like the same. They're very like slow going across each other.
Yeah.
But mate, if you touch that car or that bike, it's game over.
Yeah.
So like you might just don't speed. Do not
Yeah.
speed. Don't get those fines
I was
because
watching.
they all add up.
Yeah, I was watching this thing of like Formula Ones,
Yeah.
of like how fast your reaction time needs to be to brake into the corner before you turn. And they're saying like if you're 0.1 milliseconds off, right, of pressing the brake, it could mean like literally 100 meets.
Yeah, because you're going so fast. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're going like 300k or something
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like
Jeez.
Whose reaction
0.1
time?
millisecond.
Whose reaction time's that bloody good?
They have like some of those advertisements from I think it was like Victorian government, like the you know there's like car advertisements of like don't speed. One of them is like if you're going like 80 kilometers an hour, and this is about like if you're sleepy. If you're going 80 kilometers an hour and you fall asleep at the wheel, in like 5 seconds time of just not being aware of where you are, you've covered like 60 meters or something ridiculous like that in just 5 seconds.
That's insane.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
What other expenses we got here?
Yeah, so all that car stuff, the wheels, everything, man, like the tires, everything. Then yeah, insurance, like you're saying, again, insurance is usually people pay like once a year, divided by 12, get it ready, or I think on the website you can make it like every 3 months if you want to. Every 6 months, I think you can do rego.
Big proponent of the every 3 month one.
Yeah,
Big proponent of that.
yeah,
Why is that?
The spreading that cost out over a longer period allows you to like just have more to invest on a regular basis. So
Is it cheaper to do a yearly or is it cheaper? Is it the same cost?
it's the same cost.
same shit.
Yeah.
She's all the same shit.
Yeah,
I know that is sometimes the model where it's like if you pay up front, it may be ever so cheaper, but in reality, if you're investing the difference, you're going to make that money back like a few times fold that you would have actually saved on just paying it up front.
Yeah, because that is the model behind car insurance. So if you do car insurance monthly, it's more expensive than doing it yearly. So I wasn't sure if that's the same case with the rego.
Yeah. Throw it on the 3 months. Same with the phones. Another expense we're going to get into. Like, Try and
split her up.
split her up as much as possible.
Yeah.
Throw the terms out as long as possible, so you're paying the minimum amount every month, so that you can invest more every month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with Optus at the moment, you can do a 3-year plan, and there is no difference in the total cost. So it's like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
You're gonna pay $2,000 no matter what. You know,
Why not
Can
pay
spread
less
it
every
out
month?
over a longer period of time.
spread it over 3 years.
I like
Makes
that.
complete sense.
And then phones are getting good net these days. You don't really need to upgrade every 2 years. Every 3 years is all right.
Sure, absolutely,
Mm.
100%.
Then like the next thing is like write down all your bills, literally everything, and work out an average again. For us, we found like living together, it's like roughly like $1 a day for all of our bills. So we're pretty lucky in that regard. But then just write it down. Internet, everything, and we're gonna start noticing from doing this process is you had your income at the top after tax. After tax is already taken away money from you. Then after you keep on adding up all these bills, you just see all your money go. You don't realize like there's barely any left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe a good thing for people maybe is, if you can, look it up on YouTube or create like a formula where you go equals, then click on the total income, like your total income, click on that cell, and then click on all the cells where you're putting your expenses, and it'll literally minus automatically. So it might be, if you want to actually do that, you'll be able to kind of, as Dylan's saying, see it take away from your income every time you put in a new expense. Like actually life changing. That'd be interesting.
Another one is like clothes, because clothes is not really on a regular basis. Normally you go on a shopping spree or something like every 3 months or whatever, or maybe you're one of those people where the Instagram ads just keeps hitting you, and then you keep on having these purchases where you get, something once a month. Go through your last 12 months and look at how much you spent on clothes. Like, you'll be surprised.
Yeah, I find something that helped me with clothes was taking more of a minimalistic approach. I used to buy a ton of clothes and then never wear it again.
Yes.
And I looked at my wardrobe and I had all this like pile of clothes that like I was like, what am I doing with all this? So then from there I took like a more minimalistic approach, which helped a lot.
Yeah.
And it also gives you the mindset of buying like good quality stuff, but like once or like once in a
last
while.
you longer.
Yeah, they'll last you longer. And all my clothes now, that they've been there for a couple of years.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I think like just as a reminder, we like to say like, as a general rule, you want to like make your clothes like work out to be like roughly $1 per use. So if something costs you $100, you got to make sure you definitely wear that thing 100 times.
Yeah.
If you're wearing it less than that, then if it's like some sort of jeans you thought it was gonna be really good, then it turns out they're just sitting in your wardrobe and you never use them. And then fashion passes and you're like, oh, I don't even like those jeans anymore, and you only wore them twice and it cost you $100. That's a bad use of money. It's $50 a use.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So and then anything like shopping, anything you're buying for yourself, that includes fun. Think about all of that. A big one that we spoke about last time was the subscriptions, because they're like the silent killer. You don't notice them coming out every single month. I think it's a good little tip as well. Like, just turn on that notification on your banking app so you can see every single time it minuses.
100%.
Yeah. It's so painful every time.
It should feel
something comes
painful
out.
though.
Yeah.
So you got that notification there every day. See money coming out. Any subscriptions, apps, and literally anything you spend money on, that's what's going out, and work out the average. And now you might be a person that likes to work out as monthly, or you could be a person that likes fortnight or weekly. If that's the case, if it's weekly, then just divide everything by 4 and just work it out. So like what you might find is like someone that's making $1,000 a week. I'm thinking tax is between $250, $300-ish roughly. So you're left with around $700 a week. Then once you take away all of these expenses, there's going to be hardly anything there. So just like have an actual idea of what's going on. Another one is like holidays as well. People are saving up for a holiday. People think they're saving money. Oh, I'm saving 20% every single week. But then at the end of the year, they spend all their money on a holiday. Well, actually, your savings rate was, in that case, 0.
Yeah.
because that money was going to an expense later on in the year. So
Yeah,
people
that's
don't
true.
think of this stuff in the right way.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because, especially when you were explaining the phone thing, like extended it out as much as possible. I know a lot of people that do that, which is good, but then they spend it on the wrong thing, which is not good.
yeah,
All the money that they save from that,
that's a double.
yeah,
They double
Just getting
down.
screwed.
yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
It's
a
just
good
living on
point.
credit.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
so like yeah, generally speaking, the right thing to do in that case is, let's just say your phone's going to cost you $2,000 no matter what. Instead of 2 years, you can make it in 3 years. So person A, they might just spend and buy it outright. They've lost $2,000 up front. The other person, they split it up over 3 years. So now, their first monthly payment might be, I don't know, $80 or something, whatever the maths works out to be. Now they've still got like roughly another $2,000 that they can invest in the markets. Statistically speaking, the S&P 500 goes up 10% per year. So that by the time that 3-year period comes around, you've actually used that money to pay off a little bit of your phone. So that money is working for you through the asset.
It's a good tip.
You want to talk about number 6, Sammer? Number
six.
6. So to categorize what is needed.
Yeah. So this one, I implement this, and I've got to be honest, I haven't implemented this from the start. I've only learnt about it as time has gone on with budgeting and stuff. It is, you need to figure out, like, out of all your expenses, so you have your income, which is your asset that's making you money, right? Then you have your expenses. Money's flowing out of your pocket at that point. You need to categorize out of your expenses what is required. What do you need to live on? What are like the basic things you need? These are like, you can't compromise on these things. You need them.
Food,
like food,
place
rent,
to live.
yes, bills. Those are the basic necessities. And then anything else that isn't basic need for you to live on, that's a nice to have. And you've got to determine what is nice to have. Like how much money should you be spending on what is nice to have? Because you'll quickly realize that you probably don't need like 90% of the stuff that's nice to have.
100%.
Yeah, for
That's a
sure.
good one.
And I found that out the hard way. Like I was buying so much. I was spending a lot of money on clothes, and part of that's because like growing up, parents were like very, very good at saving, so they didn't. Again, I should have learned from that, but they didn't really buy us clothes. They only bought us clothes once a year, and that was on our birthday. They only bought us clothes once a year. So when I started making money, I wanted to buy like as many clothes as I possibly could. And I didn't implement that rule of like, you should wear it at least 100 times. So that's why like I bought too many clothes, and it was just like, I have so many clothes that I just gave away because I wasn't using it. That's a lot of money that I could have put into the markets.
Sure.
But yeah, like things like that, like you'll have those things that from your past, from your youth, that do affect how you spend money now. For me, it was the clothes.
I know food is a needed to live, right? Because you need to eat. But I'll tell you what's a nice habit for me was to always order more than I actually ate. It's just stupid. Like my eyes are bigger than my stomach. Is that the saying, right? I'm pretty sure. I was like, you look at, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. I'm going to get all of that, and I'm eat half of one of them. So like you throw out 2 other things. So it's like, it's no longer a needed to live. It's just like you wanted those 2 other things and you've wasted them. So you're wasting money.
I think another example is like even like categories of food. Like imagine you spend all this money on a really nice steak where you could get all your protein requirements and it's pretty much the same nutrients from chicken breast. The chicken breast is cheaper. Doing things like that, all of that starts adding up, and it's just like, it's short-term pleasure, just to make our mouth feel good. So thinking of things like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a perfect story, maybe a salmon story you want to talk about.
Yeah, the salmon story. So
I think
this is
it's
pretty
Sammer.
yeah, the salmon story. This is pretty crazy, and like we are pretty damn hardcore. But for me, like we wanted to save as much as possible because we understood that the harder we work, right, and then get all of this money coming in, increase our monthly income, and then the more we sacrifice, then that means we literally have more money. Because money saved is practically money earned, you know? Everyone else, they think they're making a lot, but they're just spending it. So we wanted to go real hardcore by literally living off like canned food, stuff like I don't recommend it, but like this is what we did. We lived off canned food for a short period of time just to really get your first 10K in the markets. Very short period of time, living off tuna cans, stuff like that. And then like as a reward for me, it was either $10,000. It was either $10,000 or $20,000. Once I had that invested in the markets, then I finally gave myself a little bit of smoked salmon. And man, I was waiting to have like smoked salmon was like one of my most favorite foods, you know, especially as a Japanese person that loves fish, right? And that's my reward. Wait until you got $10,000 in the market. Now you can get that little pack of salmon, which is $12. It's wasted money. You can argue it's good for your health and all of that, but like that was the mindset. I don't recommend that for many people. You got to really understand how your body works and make sure you're getting your nutrients in other ways. What we used to do was like, you know, really focus on getting a lot of veggies in. Broccoli and stuff was cheap, all of that to go along with our canned food. And then we just made sure we had a Godzilla, you know, try to have that once every day as well. So we're hitting the micronutrients.
For the people that don't know what a Godzilla is, you want to quickly explain what it is?
Yeah, the Godzilla is just a combination of heaps of like, it's a juice. So heaps of mixed berries, a little bit of coconut water, a little bit of orange juice in there, a little bit of banana, literally pretty much anything you can find. Mango, all of this stuff, and just blend it all up together. Tastes really good. And yeah, you just feel better because it feels like, it's like kind of like a multivitamin in a way. Yeah, it has a lot of sugar. Yeah, it has, you know, quite a few calories. But when you're working that hard, you know, at physical jobs, you're burning the shit off.
Yeah.
Someone asked me the exact question, like, what is a Godzilla? I said, it's the elixir of the gods. It's a hot chocolate on a snowy day. It's a cold beer on a summer's day. Blew it up.
Do you have any more of those?
Huh? So I've got a whole thing. I'm not even joking. I sent like 15 messages.
That's beautiful, man.
I've got so many, but I won't. It's funny.
But yeah, like what we found was it is so hard to get your food costs down to like around $100. And this is a few years ago before inflation hit us. You know, food prices are through the roof now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
pretty sure the cans we were buying were like 80 cents.
yeah,
Yeah.
80 cents.
What is it, like $1.20 now?
it's just $2.
Yeah, it's just $2.
$2.
Yeah,
What?
I think they'll stand it at $1. And me and Doc, because we were living together at the time, we'll wait until there's a sale. They're 50 cent. We'll go with 50 cent.
Nice.
And we'll get a whole trolley worth.
Yeah.
So we used to, you know, those little trays that are on the shelf where they come arrived in that little tray. We used to take the whole thing. Take the whole thing. It's just empty, boys.
Genuinely, we used to just destroy these supermarkets.
Sometimes we would find the guy stacking the shelf.
Yeah.
Still in the
You're like,
boxes.
don't bother, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just take it.
Literally, don't, mate. Save yourself the labor, mate. Throw it in. We used to do it with
save you some
everything.
time here. I'm going to provide you some value. I want to take it all.
If we found something that we ate on a regular basis and it was within the budget, the whole thing was coming home, son. It used to be like that. We used to walk through the thing with the carton like this. Let's go, boy.
And yeah, when it comes to your health as well, you got to really have that self-awareness to understand, like, am I actually starting to feel shit? Because we would notice it. All right, we're starting to feel shit. All right, we got to switch it up a little bit. Let's get rid of these cans for a little while. Let's bring in something else. Because you never want to, you know, really hurt your health for the long term. But our mindset is, and you got to you have to have the self-awareness to understand, should you back yourself in this idea, yes or no? We thought, all right, we can do this short term. It's only 6 months. Get $10,000 into the market minimum. And then because we're getting that money in early, because of time, how it works, you know, that's your greatest asset is time. Get the money in, it can compound, and it can get way bigger than most people can even understand, right? So, and then we had the idea, and it's working as we speak. We'll leave our jobs, we'll have so much more time, and that's when we spend more money on food. Now we get, you know, a bit of salmon every week, you know, all this nicer food, and then we have way more time to go for bike rides. We should actually work out a little bit more.
It's a good point.
But you know, we're on the path to make it back. So I feel like it's good to think of, you know, it's a bit of a controversial idea, but 3 years of sacrifice can literally set up your whole life. You're still young. You can do this stuff when you're young, and then you got so much more time. So then, compared to someone that's working their job until 75, or maybe 65, 65, which is the average retirement rate in Australia, you have more time to work out. You have more money to buy healthier stuff. You have more time to do stuff, you know, for your body. So that's the mindset. But yeah, don't recommend it for everybody.
Yeah, I think like what Doc was saying in the last podcast about your dad, how you know he's feeling younger because you know he fixed his knees, right?
Shoulder,
sorry. So imagine like in the future, like something like that happens to you, and you've put money into the markets. Now you can afford the best medical treatments.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're gonna feel way more youthful.
Yeah.
When you're older than you were when you're younger.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And at a young age, I think for the majority of people, if you go hard for 3 years, your health's going to bounce back pretty quickly. Like really quickly.
Yeah.
Like especially if you're doing it at the age of 20, I can guarantee that what we did, people are doing on a regular basis by going out and drinking every weekend and doing drugs. They're doing way worse.
Oh yeah.
At the
It's
moment.
not worse than people.
We're talking about lack of sleep and lack of nutrients. We're not talking about destroying, our bodies. If that makes sense. Our insides. It's a completely different thing, and it's mentally draining. A lot of it's physically draining, but there's none of that like real long lasting kind of effects. It's more lessons. You get to learn from all these different things. You get to learn what you're capable of. Just going out and being in a similar state, getting drunk and shit like that, you're not learning anything. You're just destroying your body, and it's going to hurt you later down the track as well.
Yeah. That's a really good point, man. That's really good.
Yeah. I think it was mainly like it was our protein sources from like the canned food, the canned tuna and stuff, where we would still have a shitload of veggies, which are cheap. A kilo of peas, it's cheap. And then have all of the fruit. So honestly, compared to the average person, it is literally, like you're saying, probably better than them.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think on Doc's point, like I feel like there is two mindsets. Like one mindset is, I want to live my youth. I want to go out partying all the time. And it's okay to have fun, but you want to know how much fun you should have.
Yeah.
That it doesn't impact your finances. It doesn't impact your health as well. I remember going out and like before all my finance like knowledge, I remember going out and I couldn't even be bothered going out, and I still went out. I couldn't be bothered, man. I wanted to sleep, but I still went out.
Do you think that's like 90% of people?
I feel like, yeah. Because it's like I feel like it's that mindset, like, I want to live my youth. You can still live your youth, but just be aware of how much it's affecting your finances and your health as well.
I can remember
it's a really good point you raised, man.
I can remember going out as well, like during this, not that 6 months, that period, but going out during this finance journey and spending the money on going to get beers and getting a little fucked up, getting a little turn kind of thing. And then waking up the next morning, looking at my account going, I just gave into peer pressure again.
Yeah.
What the
Well, that's the thing. Once you're on beers, you're like Nelson Mandela.
You feel like it.
Yeah.
You're like Mother Teresa. You just like give all your money out. You're like, take it.
And it's
You're a monk.
it's a yeah, exactly.
Dude, I remember like when I was at a bar as well. I got to the point where I was, drunk and tipsy. And then you would just like bring out your cards so easily. And it's like, shots for you, shots for you, shots for you. It's like,
shots for this random guy.
You didn't even know these people like 24 hours ago.
The horrible thing is in our nature to like help people, make sure everyone's having a good time. It's like, I can tell you that's not gone away in me. And I can promise you, all I need to do is just make a hell of a lot more money, because
it's a good motivator, right?
I'm going to be buying shit for people way too much. But yeah, like you wake up the next day hating the fact that you've just been out.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where, like what you're saying, people want to live their life young and enjoy it. It gets to a point where you're actually just not enjoying it anymore. So I was like, what are you Like, what is happiness for you? If you're not enjoying, if you enjoy yourself while you're there, okay, but you don't enjoy any other period of thinking about it or being in that kind of environment, then that's not what's making you the most happy, right? So do what's making you happy. And if that's grinding for 6 months, eating Maggi noodles and cans so that you can, you know, get a real good head start in your life, then that's what it is.
Like, speaking of like the opposite case of that, where it's like, let's say you are grinding very hard, but then you're like, you feel like you want to live in the moment and you feel like your health is deteriorating. We've all done that here. One of my personal stories was, so I left my job May 2021, and I was working in a role where I was working 12 hours a day, and it wasn't a physical labor job. It was literally sitting at a desk for 12 hours a day. Like, I literally cannot move. I have to sit at a desk for 12 hours a day. So for me, as a person that likes to stay fit and healthy, that was affecting my mental health a lot. And obviously I put on a lot of weight during that time as well. And I'll tell you guys, right now we're in April 2022. Since I left in May 2021 till now, I feel like, because I sacrificed for that long my health as well, it's only been a couple of months since I left my job, and I'm in a way better condition now than I was in the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
So when people think, oh, I'm sacrificing and my health is gone forever, it's like, no, it's not the case.
For sure.
I feel way better now. It's like I'm feeling like I'm not even at my peak yet.
No, not even close.
You know?
Absolutely. As we said, peak's 50, boy. You got some time
Not
to go.
even. Stem
This is
cells.
not your peak, man. What the
This is not my peak.
I've got a long way to go. That's not your peak.
No way, boys.
Thinking the same thing, bro. Fuck. Yeah. Man, that was some bloody days. I remember a story of maybe sacrificing, and this is stupid and way too risky, but I remember having my Nissan Maxima, and this car, she was a beauty until I crashed her. I had a little accident, all right, while I was working, and this thing had a genuine hole in the front of it.
Dude, what would happen to the bonnet?
Dude, she was speaking to you while you're driving. This poor girl, she's just tapping up and
So
down.
if it was a really windy day,
Huh?
if it was a really windy day,
Yeah,
what would happen?
she's a personal drum set. She's
That's wild.
Look, I'm going to be completely honest. It was one of the dumbest things I've ever done to continue to drive that thing, and I drove it for way too long. But I didn't want to spend the money on a new car because she was just getting me from A to B. So would I recommend doing it? No, but I was literally delusional in a state where it's like, I'm not spending any more money on this shit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to highlight the point of like how willing we were to sacrifice. Like, it was literally sacrificing potential death, which is absurd because the risk to reward doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we do have to catch ourselves. It's easy to go like too deep into the darkness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was just too much darkness. But, you know, you want to get money in, you sacrifice the team. So, but don't do that shit.
Yeah, do that.
I'm saying it. Don't do the flap.
Imagine someone listens to this. Like,
Out
oh,
of
Doc had a
context.
flap. Want to crash my car, make a flap, and now boss, I'm sacrificing. Got a flap.
Also, the opportunity, like the probability that you're going to be able to get the flap and it not break down that quickly. You know, I think you boys understand how long this thing ran
Dude,
for.
that was
with
pure
a flap.
luck.
Huh?
That was pure luck, man.
Luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Son, I used to walk around the car doing an audit of my car to see if it was still in
Every time you
working
drove it.
Son, she was but the interior was like all timber and it was like leather seats. So you just get in the car, you're like, fuck, she's alright.
Other than the flapping bonnet, she's all right.
No, you just look up in the sky as well. You just ever so slightly look down at the road. You don't worry about the flap. But do not do the flap. I'm just saying the mentality we were in when we're doing the flap is probably too far. It absolutely is too far.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Plus, as well, you were like 18 at the time.
I was a child.
Yeah.
Yes, I was not. Yeah, 19. Yeah. So very, very stupid.
It's a good story though.
Yeah.
Good story to share.
Good little flapper.
Yeah.
Good old Flappy Bird.
I got the record on that shit, bro. People are playing Flappy Bird on the phone. Rookies. Play that shit in real life, son.
Let's go.
All right. So now the next thing to do with the next step. So you got your Excel sheet. You've worked out all of your expenses, and even like leave this thing up. Like it's good to have it in Google Sheets, so it's always there. You can always make adjustments because you're always gonna find shit. I missed this subscription. Oh shit, I got a new one. Add this. Oh wait, I just bought this new, I don't know, suit or something. Oh, that boosts my costs up for clothes. And there's always something coming up. So yeah, make sure you keep on editing it. But then work out what is your actual monthly like percent. Like what is the percentages? How much of your monthly income are you actually spending? So we're talking you're spending half, 50%. Pretty damn good. If you can get around half, that's really awesome. If you can save like $500. So we're talking, we always like to talk in, using like a dishwasher as an example. So then there's no excuse. Dishwasher these days, they can make $20 an hour quite comfortably. If you're doing 50 hours a week, that's how you get to that $1,000. So you don't need a university degree. You don't need to have like a high paying job. So we're talking minimums here. So it's possible to, literally save half your money. Like we're examples of it. I was only literally $21 as a store manager even. So, it was like, it wasn't high pay, but I found a way to save half of it. So $500 every single week was going in. But I worked out my expenses was $500 as well. So I had to work 70 hours to get $1,400. I was taxed a little bit harder at $400 roughly. So that's what gave me that $1,000. So $1,000 of bills, expenses, $500 left to invest. Put that in. That's $25,000 a year going into the markets.
That's crazy.
3 years, that's $75,000. A little bit of return as well. You got your six figures. You already hit $100,000. In your first 3 years. And you could literally, if you start this at 18, you could be a 21-year-old with six figures.
You also found a way because you weren't getting enough hours at Nando's, right?
Yeah.
I remember you also found a way to get to manager position.
Yeah.
And then pump your hours up to like 70 hours.
Because every other manager wouldn't let me go past full time.
Yeah.
Everyone's like 38 hours. And I was like contemplating, like telling them, hey, if you don't give me the hours here, I'll just get a second job.
Yeah.
I'll work part-time there too.
Yeah. Which is what I did. So I actually had to get a second job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same disability care as well, but I found a different company.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of only being able to work full time. Like people were literally saying at the time, it's not possible to work more than that. How the big boys doing it? What are you talking about? You telling me that everyone in the world only works, they get to their 40th hour, like, I'm out. I'm done. It's not possible.
1 minute after 40th hour, I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah, like their body just drops down. I'm done.
Yeah.
No. Right. Like it's just that you're limiting what you can actually kind of do. It's crazy.
And it's culture as well. In Australia, we're laid back and stuff. That's why it's only 38 hours here. A lot of other countries, it's 40-hour work week. Some countries, it's 50-hour work week, and that's the standard. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you do 51, in their countries, oh, March, it's too much, March. Why? It's just a number.
Yeah.
You work until you're not feeling it, son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we up to? Oh, yeah. And then, so work out the percentage. Then you actually understand how much you can invest. Generally speaking, financial advisors, they'll probably tell you to invest around 10% of your income. If you do that, it is good advice because it will set your future up. Most people, they actually don't do that. So if you look at the average 30-year-old, they have less than $1,000 to their name. So if they just invested 10% or literally saved in cash, man, like 10%, it's way better than the average person.
Yeah.
So 10% is good, is where you don't really notice it as well. It doesn't really affect your mental health. Us here, we like to go a little bit larger, go a little bit hardcore. So we like to try and get it near, 40%, 50% if possible. If you've got a high paying job as well and you're making six figures, 100,000, man, you would get that thing up.
Yeah.
The more money you're making 80 grand, get that fella up.
Absolutely.
But yeah, at the same time, you also need to think, like, what do you actually want to achieve? If you want to do big things, you probably want to go a little bit harder. If you don't, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has, something else. Whatever you want to do, you do that. But yeah, I'll be definitely doing 10% as a minimum for sure.
That's kind of been an involvement in us, hasn't it? Like, well, me personally, to realize that not everyone wants to go crazy hardcore. It's been that learning, I guess, that we've had to do. Is like, not everyone wants the exact same thing. People do want different things. It's obvious when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
It's like,
I remember being like, what do you mean you don't want to go hardcore?
yeah, what do you mean you don't want to work 100
What do you
hours a
mean?
week? You're telling me that you don't want to work 100 hours.
You're 20 years old and you don't want to go hardcore?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
But
No.
exactly, it's people who it's just not kind of what they live for, what they organize for.
Yeah.
And we learned there's nothing wrong with that. But you still got to do something to be able to protect your future. Something is better than nothing. It's still the same. Maybe just save cash, for Christ's sake. Whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of that as well. Like, so like, what do you actually want? Personalities, that type of stuff. But also it can be a lack of knowledge.
Sure.
Some people don't actually understand the opportunity at hand.
That's a good one.
People don't actually understand, hey, $10,000 invested for the future, 50 years. If you do that when you're 20, when you're 70, if you can compound at 20% per year, she's 91 million. Every 10 grand you get could be almost $100 million. 10 grand to 100 million. We're saving 20 grand a year. It's crazy numbers.
Yeah.
So, and then if you save 10 grand when you're 50, she's not the same. Because you don't have time to compound it.
Especially when you're young, it's really hard to comprehend how important making that kind of money is.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to look at like all the celebrities and being like, oh, they're flexing it, they're buying all the good shit.
Yeah.
But when you comprehend $91 million, how much impact it can make in the world, like, then it's crazy.
100%.
We always talk about, like, everybody's marketing. Hey, if you buy this crypto, buy this NFT, you're going to make 100 times your money. That's where the big 100x meme comes from. But, that sounds like so silly, and it is, because making 100 times your money is highly unlikely in the short term, especially with your whole entire net worth. Like, no one actually does that. The best people in the world, they're compounding at like 30% per year, 40% in like the case of Elon Musk. That's where it's at. So we always say, like, we believe, it's very possible for the average person to make 20% if they really dedicate themselves. So if you dedicate yourself and actually make that 20%, in 50 years, $1 turns to 9,100 times your money. So it's like 100x seems so like crazy. And it is crazy because the time horizon is short. But when you extend your time horizon, it's guaranteed you can become a millionaire.
Absolutely.
And people talk about as well, like, everyone wants to become a millionaire, in 10 days by doing some drop shipping program. Or it could be anything really. But instead of 10 days, if you just made it 10 years and then just mapped it out, anyone can achieve a millionaire in 10 years. Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't take a genius.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Dude, those numbers are compound.
It's just crazy.
Get me, son.
Yeah, like that 91 million. It's a crazy number, but it all starts with budgeting. If you don't budget, you don't have anything. You don't know how much to put into the market.
Yeah.
If you don't even do that action, then that 91 million is not even going to happen.
Yeah, we see people all the time, right? Like, oh man, have you seen this project? It's going to make way more. It's going to beat you. It's going to make more money than you. Or sometimes they say, oh, last year we made more money than you. Like, and they made 10% ROI, return on investment. They made 10% more. Yeah, but how much money did you put in that investment? We put in big boy money.
Yeah.
You put it in little pennies, $100, $200. It doesn't matter how much ROI you get on it. It's still the same thing.
You bought $10. You're not even paying tax on it yet, Sam.
So,
100% on $100 is equivalent to 10% on $1,000.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here?
Yeah. What are we doing?
People are playing in the wrong leagues. They don't even realize.
Yeah. And realize you don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
Get the knowledge in. It's just simple.
Yeah. I see it all the time, like, especially with G, like, some of G's mates, it happens to all of us. So not just G's mates, literally all of us. They especially when the bull market was hot, they'll be coming to us like, boys, I've just made 10 grand. All my money.
They'll say it like that too, boys. I just made 10 grand.
I know. And they're bragging to us.
10 grand's the greatest thing they've ever seen.
They'll whisper it and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone. Listen, I know it's just a lot of money. I just made $10,000.
I got a
don't
funny
wanna
story.
brag.
I got a funny story actually. I got a Uncle Toby who called me up,
Yeah.
and then he was like, "Oh mate, I got 20 grand in the markets," and he was just flexing that to me for like literally an hour.
1
Like,
hour.
I'm
I'm
not
talking
even
about his
joking.
20 grand.
1 hour. After the 1 hour, he asked me, "Well, how much do you have?" And I'm like, I'm trying to be humble, but like, I'm like, bro, I got 250K. I got $250,000, and he's like, bro, literally all I heard was silence, just silence. He's like,
Dude.
he's like, how do you have 250K? How do you have $250,000?
Dude, he would have been clenching. He would have clenched up, man. That would have got him good.
Oh, man.
People
Sometimes you have to brag, man. Sometimes you have to
Yeah.
tell them so
I
that
mean,
they
he
know
asked.
what's happening.
He asked. I was just being honest. You know?
It's beneficial for him.
You just have to be honest.
It's 100% beneficial because he looks at that and goes, I'm not even playing in the same league, son. So I that's why I think the whole point was, you get yourself 10 grand. Put your fucking head down
Yeah.
and work. Like, realize how little that is,
Mm.
how nothing that is. It may be like, give yourself a pat on the back and go, I did 10 grand. Well done.
Yeah.
Move the fuck on. Keep going.
Yeah.
Like, she's nothing. Like, we're saying, oh, like G just said then, $250,000, yay. He doesn't look at $250,000 like it's the best thing ever.
I'm still
Because-
going, bro. I'm still working
'Cause
hard.
where he compares himself to is not a person who has $250,000, it's a person who's got fucking 91 mil in 50 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're looking at. So it's not to take the piss, it's to realize the game you're playing so that you can actually make it.
Yeah.
I swear I went to Dylan many times and I was like, oh man, I'm ready to quit. And then, you know, the bear market hit and I'm like, dude, this is such a good opportunity for me to buy in.
Yeah.
I'm still working.
Yeah, cheers, G.
All right, Wes.
I think maybe one other thing we should add is probably like the first 100K is a bitch.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that one, Dill?
Yeah, so Charlie Munger, I don't even really know if it was Charlie Munger. I can't really imagine him saying 100K was a bitch. He wouldn't have said it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like him.
So I reckon someone just ran with it. They made a meme on TikTok.
Dude, Charlie's just sitting there going,
I'll take it.
I said it. No, I'm not waiting for
Take
it.
it.
But yeah, the thing is, let's talk about the temp. If you had $10,000 and why it's not really that serious. It's a great job. You took a lot of hard work, right? But $10,000, having that invested is not that serious because if you're actually as smart as Elon Musk, and the odds are you're not, Elon Musk is only making 40% per year. That means that 10 grand would make you $4,000. For the average income, you saved a month. You saved $4,000. You made that by doing absolutely nothing. But the reason why having $100,000 is so important, 100K, it's going to take a long time, and that's why we call it a bitch. It's probably going to take 3 years or so, 3-4 years. But then, if you can say make 20%, we're not talking Elon Musk numbers, 40% is a bit too much. If you can make 20%, work out how to do that. That's $20,000 coming in, backing you up. And based on this Google Sheet here, that literally might be all of your expenses. So now you can start to think out of like a mindset of abundance. You know, you're not so stuck in fear like, oh, how am I going to pay for my bills and all of this stuff? No, they're getting paid off automatically for free by me doing absolutely nothing. So just by sitting on my ass, doing nothing with my hands, all this stuff is covered.
Can it make like a difference to your life? Like $4,000? Not really. Like what? You buy a little bit of materialistic items, you get a little bit of happiness, you go back to whatever you were doing previously. 20, that's a year.
Yeah.
That's a year of not having to work. Like, what kind of change can you make in a year? It's a big fuck off change.
Yeah, and if you work out, same with those examples before, if you can save $500 a week, that's 25 grand a year. Let's say you just keep staying at your job. Now you've got 100 grand that makes you 20 grand by doing nothing. Right, that's 120. Then you invest another 25 grand. You're at 145. So that you working, putting money in, is like the same as your investments just growing naturally.
Yeah.
So that that's where the inflection point is, where you actually can't work hard enough to outpace your investments growing.
Yeah. Such a crazy concept.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah, in a bull market, there's nothing that we can do that's gonna make more money than our shit pumping. There isn't a benefit of going to work.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So,
Like, just like another thing, it's a little bit more complicated, but just imagine this scenario where someone has saved, like this is talking about the importance of assets. Someone has saved up, and they're quite old, maybe they're 50, they saved up $1 million in cash, right? And then they worked out their expenses and all that, and they're sacrificing hard. And then they saved 25,000 that year. Really good job, right? So now they got $1 million plus 25,000. But then inflation rate, if it's in the US, it was 7.5%. That means that $1 million it lost in purchasing power $75,000. So even though he saved an extra 25 grand, technically it's like he lost 50 grand. So you're still going backwards, man. Like, because of inflation. So it's really important, like, you find a way to get rid of your cash, because cash is trash, and invest it wisely for the future into an asset that can make more money. With that money, you put it in an asset to make even more money. With that even more money, keep on rinsing and repeating, man.
Yeah.
clip.
So essentially, you're like adding to your assets column over time, and you'll notice over time your expenses column just gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Or you could
As a
just keep
percentage.
as a percentage.
Yep.
Yeah. And then your assets will literally pay for all your expenses.
Yeah.
It's so relative, right? Yeah, I really like that concept, because I was listening to Alex Hormozy talk about that relative income at the moment, and he was talking about just like rent in general, and the amount of money that he spends on rent when he's like traveling around. It was in like the $20,000 to maybe $50,000 like on rent, right? And for him, as a percentage, it's the same as someone who's earning, say, $100,000 a year. And this guy's a multi-millionaire. I think he's he's called the $100 million man, I believe. So for him to be able to spend that money, it's the same percentage of his, say, income as someone who's earning $100,000.
Yeah.
It's like, these things are not equal.
Yeah. He also talks about as well, and, you know, we've known this for a long time, that it's like going to 5-star restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you can get better food, higher quality food, better ingredients, better taste, better experience, better customer service. And it's like they're creating art in front of you, which literally motivates you mentally as well. And if your income's big enough and your assets are big enough, it can be like the average guy going to Macca's.
Exactly.
Or it could be even cheaper.
Yeah.
It could be like the average person cooking at home.
This is the thing about private jets. This is why billionaires and multimillionaires have private jets, because it streamlines everything that they do. You know, they don't have to wait in lines. Just assuming it's incredibly motivating to have your own private jet. You know, you take out the transit time of having to get there as well. It's maybe 2 hours to drive there. You jump on the plane, you're done. 2 hours off. So it's like 4 hours instead of like whatever the transit time would be for you to get to your airport. Then go through the lines, then check your passport, do all that kind of crap. You know, and for a billionaire, that amount of time is worth literally thousands and thousands, sometimes millions of dollars. If you're making $1 million a day and you're wasting a quarter of it, you know, that's $250,000.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
So,
like for example, like Jeff Bezos, he's worth like 180 billion. For what it costs, for how it feels for a regular person to spend $1, Jeff Bezos can buy a Lamborghini.
yeah. These things are relative.
It's like relative.
$1.
Like imagine, like if you want to buy a Lamborghini, it's like $200,000. Yeah, that's high in expenses relative to like if you just had your salary.
Yeah.
But if you have assets like Jeff Bezos does with stock and businesses and all that, that expense becomes so small. It's like spending $1.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. That's what we want to get to, boys.
That's where we want to get to. That's where we want hopefully everyone else to get to as well.
But it all starts with budgeting.
Do your budgets.
Do your budget.
You want to do your motivational speak?
No, I don't want prepared. I don't have one ready today.
Do your budgets.
Dill, how often do you reckon people should do a budget? Update their budget, I should say.
I reckon at least every quarter,
Every quarter? When you're first doing it?
When
You
you're
reckon check on it?
every week, I reckon. Open up every few days, you're going to miss something.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure, and be strict with yourself. It's so easy to lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, skip that. Oh, it was a once-off purchase. Yeah, how many once-off purchases do you have?
That's all 52 times a year.
Yeah.
And just another reminder, you know, we spoke about all of this stuff, you know, investing hard and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to have self-awareness. You got to understand you got to protect your mental health.
Mm.
You know, if you're struggling mentally, like, don't worry about this investing stuff. Don't worry about having assets. Don't worry about any of that. Just get yourself back on track first. Focus on yourself. Put all your money back in you. You might even cut back on work, man. That might help you. Like, just figure out whatever the problems are. It's going to be a tough journey. And then once you got all that stuff right, then focus on the money, man. The money's not that important. It's important, but it's not that important. Focus on yourself.
That's beautifully said.
All right.
All right, boys.
All right, boys. I think we hit all the points there.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. What was this, episode 27?
Yep.
Fantastic. Got 27 episodes. This is what's episode 3 in our finance series so far. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment if you enjoyed listening to what we had to say today. Let us know your experiences budgeting. If you need any help with budgeting, again, we're all available to be DM'd on our Instagram, TikTok, everything like that. So like, share, subscribe. Back her up.
Pack her up.
Pack her up.
Pack her up. Thank you for listening.